HARK! We are here. It is time for yet another episode of Star Wars Unlimited as we inch ever closer to the release of the first set of the game, Spark of Rebellion. I got a drink ready to go. I got some stuff to talk about. We've got some previews. We've got the last leader to check out, Command Villainy, and it is basically the person who everybody thought he was. We got a couple of really interesting cards. We've got a couple of not so interesting cards per me. And also, a few days after this video goes live, on February 10th, I will be taking part in the Star Wars Unlimited community celebration for this game, hosted by FFG out here in their lovely home state. I will be headed out to an event with a lot of other content producers and content creators in the community. We're all going to be trying to record a whole bunch of stuff. But on February 10th at 12 p.m. CT to 5 p.m. CT, there will be a stream hosted on the FFG YouTube channel. I believe that's youtube.com/fantasyflightgames1. I'll put a link to that in the description below. And there's going to be drafts, there's going to be sealeds, there's going to be crack-a-pack stuff, there's going to be a lot of cool content coming through the stream itself, all hosted by the lovely Xander Tabler, and maybe everybody's favorite organized play program manager, Josh Massey, can make an appearance. There's going to be devs there, there's going to be creators there, there's going to be other people that have been invited. I got a new phone specifically so that way I can record stuff there, which will be in a future video or videos down the line. A lot of the creators are collaborating, getting ready to actually put out content for the event itself, and that's going to be pretty fun. I've got a box full of equipment that needs to go into a bag full of equipment, so that way we can get ready to take a look at that when it happens. But February 10th, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time, be there, youtube.com/fantasyflightgames1. It's going to be real fun. I'm excited. I hope you all are excited and prepared for this. And without further ado, let's get to some previews. Our first two previews come by way of the Jade Throne podcast. Link in the description below. We have two units, a Vigilance unit and a Cunning unit. Let's take a look at this Vigilance unit first, because it's probably one of the more important units that's going to be coming out of Spark of Rebellion. We have here Guardian of the Wills, a 2-cost Vigilance only ground unit, 2 power, 2 health. Force Fringe. The first upgrade you play on this unit each round costs 1 less. And then we have a common here, number 61 out of 252 in SOR. A cheap force unit that goes into all Vigilance force decks because it does really help get those force trigger targets off, whether you're looking at running Vigilance aggression and getting the force chokes out, running the force throws, getting your it binds all things, targeting these. The cool part is that you, because it is force, it does get the kicker on things like Fallen Lightsaber and Jedi Lightsaber, which costs you 1 less. So instead of it being 3, it's 2. That's pretty fantastic if you can keep this character alive. But I think most of what this is going to do is going to allow players an early turn access or extra damage with things like Force Choke for early turn access and then Force Throw for extra damage. And if you do manage to get an upgrade on this and it has some damage, that it binds all things, healing it and dealing damage to something else is pretty cool. I think this is a great card. I think this is, again, a 3 of in every Force deck. There might be something I come around to before the full release of the set to kind of update the Force core specifically for the Vigilance side, because we've seen a few new cards. We do have that previous, The Force is With Me. We have this card here. A lot of interesting stuff coming out of this. There's a lot of design space that they're showcasing to us with these last bits of previews that are here for Star Wars Unlimited. Next, our Cunning unit has text on it that I didn't think we were going to see in the first set. But it is actually a very cool design and a very cool ship. We have here the Strafing Gunship, a 4-cost Cunning only space unit. 3 power, 4 health, underworld vehicle fighter. This unit can attack units in the ground arena. While this unit is attacking a ground unit, the defender gets -2, -0. This is a rare number 212 out of 252 in SOR. If I remember correctly, this is known as a Kimoga gunship. It obviously is gunship because it's a strafing gunship. It's the Kimoga part that I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if the design was first seen in Star Wars Galaxies, but it's where I first remember it. I know this is an X-Wing ship, and there's other places that it has been seen. But again, I do like seeing those things that I recognize from Star Wars Galaxies being placed into this game. It really does showcase that breadth of all types of content that can be pulled from for these designs that we're seeing within the game. In terms of what the gunship actually does itself, a 3-4-4 as a space unit is kind of not great power health, but at the same time, because it's not taking a lot of crackback from opposing ground units, and it can defeat ground units because it can attack units in the ground arena, it's actually a very interesting design. I see a lot of cunning decks probably end up running 2 to 3 of these, specifically because it's a 4 cost, and while there's other good 4 cost starships, probably notably in villainy, not necessarily as much in heroism, Strafing Gunship itself is actually a worthwhile unit because it does give you extra options of attacking the ground arena and trying to keep that under control. One thing to note is that there is a big segment of rules interactions with the Strafing Gunship when it comes to Sentinels in space and Sentinels on the ground. If there's a Sentinel on the ground, you can pretty much ignore that, and you can attack whichever ground units or space units you want with this unit. If there's a Sentinel unit in space, you can only target Sentinel units. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's only Space Sentinels. If there's a Space Sentinel and a Ground Sentinel, you can attack either one of those. But if a Space Sentinel does exist, you can only attack the Sentinels themselves. So that is something that you'll need to keep in mind when it comes to your Strafing Gunship. I will link the dev discussion that happened over on Twitter in the description below. SWUHolocron managed to gather a lot of this data together and put it in their official rulings section, which is really nice to have good access for questions that are kind of oddball that need to be explained by the developers for things like Strafing Gunship that have, weird text. So love Underworld, love Vehicle, love Cunning, love the effect. It's a rare, so you're not going to see it a lot in limited, but it's probably a pretty good banger if you do manage to draft it or have it in your sealed pulls for limited environments. And I'm probably going to end up running this. So it's fantastic ship. Our next cards come to us from FFG. The FFG live stream that happened covering the pre-release event and the store showdown event that will be happening in stores around the time of Spark of the Rebellion. The pre-release, obviously, a week before the release of the event. The store showdowns, which we know are supposed to happen about a month after the release of each set, is actually going to happen 2 months after the release of Spark of Rebellion to give people time to go over stuff. We'll talk about what they talked about on the stream. There's a lot of repetitive information from things we've talked about before, but we'll recap it. But what you all want to see are these preview cards. And this first one is a banger. We have here Rebel Assault, a 1-cost command heroism rebel tactic event. Attack with a rebel unit, it gets +1/+0 for this attack. Then attack with another rebel unit, it gets +1/+0 for this attack. This is an uncommon, number 103 out of 252 in SOR. Rebel Assault has great art here. It's fantastic. 2 X-Wings and an A-Wing attacking a Star Destroyer. This slots very easily into any Rebel command deck, specifically Leia and definitely Hera. I think Hera is absolutely going to get some use out of this because all of the Spectres are also Rebels. The extra bonus, being able to do 2 things for 1 card. All of these are fantastic pieces of relevancy for your cards that you're going to be playing. If you want to have consistent access to multiple attacks, running these in Leia is going to be a good idea. I think a lot of people think that multiples of the same effect are redundant, and that's not how consistency works at all. Consistency means you run multiples of an effect if you really want the effect, and then you get to utilize those when it comes time. Worst comes to worst, you just resource this. If you're pulling lots of Rebels in your sealed and your draft portions, Rebel Assault is perfect so long as you're running command. This is a really good card, especially at uncommon, and I think it's going to see a lot of play in any deck that does end up wanting to run Rebel strategies. So much so that I'm actually considering maybe flipping Sabine from Cunning to Command to run things like this, the Battlefield Marine and the Echo-based Defender, which are really good, solid cards to be running under a Rebel strategy. With all that said, Rebel Assault, fantastic card. I'm going to enjoy it, and I hope you all enjoy it as well because it is quite good. Our next card references a very important point of Empire Strikes Back. We have here, I Had No Choice, a 7-cost Cunning Villainy trick event. Choose up to 2 non-leader units. An opponent chooses one of those units. return that unit to its owner's hand and put the other on the bottom of its owner's deck. This is a rare, number 187 out of 252, and SOR. I first read this card and I thought it was absolutely terrible, especially for 7 costs. It's a late game event that from its first look didn't look to do a whole lot. However, reading the card explains the card, thanks Prof, and actually having really read the text on this card, it is effectively eliminating 2 units for 7 cost, 1 basically for the rest of the game, that's the one that goes to the bottom of the deck, and 1 until your opponent has enough resources to play it either in the same round or in the next round. If you choose your targets correctly, you can end up really hampering your opponent's strategies by removing units that they need on the board to continue pressuring you. Get rid of a sentinel that's in your way. Get rid of a card that is going to do extra damage to you if it's defeated. Remove something that's just blowing up your units and making something really difficult to do. Ultimately, what I had no choice comes down to is pay 7, get rid of 2 units. Your opponent's going to pick favorably on which unit they can replay at a later time, if that's what they want to do. It is expensive. You do have the ability with Jabba the Hutt to reduce the cost of this if you're playing him, and this is one of the cards you can pull from the top of your deck. I could see this as a one-off for myself in Cunning Villainy decks, especially if they're running Jabba the Hutt, but given its very high cost, and given how something like Change of Heart also is very expensive for what it brings to the table, I personally don't see myself running this a whole lot. Again, as a one-off maybe, or a sideboard option, but there are better ways that Cunning has to be able to remove units, your opponent's units off the board, whether that's attacking them and getting the benefits from Cunning or Jin, or defeating them with other effects like Bosk, throwing them back to your opponent's hand with Waylay, so on and so forth. But if you know you're going to the late game and you need that extra power to remove units off the board, I Had No Choice is your card. These next 2 cards were previewed one after the other to showcase to us and get us hyped for the final leader reveal in Command Villainy, which is the leader everybody was expecting, and was designed to showcase us the little piece of strategy that might come with utilizing these 2 effects together. I will preface everything I'm about to say with these next 2 cards that I am not a fan of them. I know a lot of people have been talking about them, a lot of people have been super hyped with them. Personally, I don't see it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't see it, nor does it mean that you should take my criticism of these cards as absolute fact. There are cards that are not going to work for me, and I don't have any intention of playing them unless something crazy comes out in the last 20 or so cards that are remaining left to preview. But the event and leader combination is very underwhelming to me. Do with that as you will. With that said, on Thursday and Friday, Unlimited FFG revealed to us a new leader and event. We're starting with the event, and then we'll go with the leader. We have here the Emperor's Legion, a 2-cost Command Villainy Imperial Supply event. Return each unit in your discard pile that was defeated this phase to your hand. It is a rare, number 91 out of 252, and SOR. The idea behind this is that if you lose a bunch of units, say a board wipe, or your opponent is able to attack down and get rid of a bunch of units within a couple of actions, you can use the Emperor's Legion to take all of those cards back to your hand. If for some reason you lose a bunch of units through your own effects, same thing. Take all those units back to your hand. The Emperor's Legion is a card that specifically wants you to just throw everything you have at your opponent, let you lose your stuff, and bring it all back to your hand with a 2-cost event that will give you the ability to play them at a later time. The main problem with this card is that last bit I just said, to play them at a later time. Being able to take cards back to your hand that you knew were useful to you is not, unless it's a powerful combination, will not necessarily be as useful. This is not recursion per se. This is resource refillment. For those of you that don't know, recursion is basically taking a card that you had access to that was in play that you lost and being able to bring it back, or if you discarded it for something else, to be able to bring it back into play without spending too many resources to do so, or the same amount of resources to do that. The black color of the color pie in Magic the Gathering is all about recursion, taking things back from your graveyard, putting them on the field, taking the things from your deck, putting them in your graveyard, and then putting those things in the graveyard to your field, so on and so forth. That is not what the Emperor's Legion does. The Emperor's Legion takes all of those units that were defeated in the phase, so basically the back and forth of that specific round, and putting them back to your hand. The biggest plays that you can do with this is give yourself options for resources at future turns, or if you lose something big that you need to have on the field, Blizzard, Force, AT-AT, the green Command Vader, or the red Emperor Palpatine, if that's something that you're looking to run with the Command Villainy Aggression, Avenger, or if you're running Vigilance, or Devastator if you're just running Command, all of those different things as a big card that you could bring back if you lost it in that phase. That's pretty good, so long as you didn't lose it in the same phase that you played that card. But in terms of getting back multiples, that's not very strong to me. With that said, the leader that's supposed to synergize with this effect is Emperor Palpatine Galactic Ruler. He is the Command Villainy Rare Leader. His ability says, action, pay 1 resource, exhaust this leader, and defeat a friendly unit. Deal 1 damage to a unit and draw a card. He has Force, Imperial, Sith, and Official. His epic action states, if you control 8 or more resources, deploy this leader, which makes him a 4/10. On the flip side, Emperor Palpatine Galactic Ruler, 8 cost, quote unquote, leader units, 4 power, 10 health, Force, Imperial, Sith, Official. When deployed, take control of a damaged non-leader unit. You don't have to give it back. On attack, you may defeat another friendly unit. If you do, you may deal 1 damage to a unit and draw a card. Emperor Palpatine's big effect is sacrificing his units to be able to deal a single damage to an opposing unit and draw a card. I have said multiple times in the past that draw power is strong. Drawing cards is always good. This is one of those instances where it's actually not. And the reason why is you are sacrificing so many pieces of your board state to be able to get these cards once per round. Unless it's something that's going to die anyway, you know your opponent's going to blow it up incidentally, or it's going to be the main focus, and you want to be able to get the extra benefit yourself. With this leader side ability to pay 1 resource to exhaust your leader and defeat a friendly unit, that's 3 separate resource costs to deal 1 damage to a single unit and then draw a card. To me, that is not a strong enough effect to justify the cost that you have to pay in order to be able to do something like this. The biggest benefit to Emperor Palpatine is that you can take control of a damaged non-leader unit on your opponent's side of the board when he's deployed. That's going to be your big, if you have the 8 resources, Palpatine is gonna come down, Papa Palpatine's gonna come down, take control of something, and utilize it against your opponent. It is, his attack stat's a little low, but bigger than other leaders that are built like this. His health is gigantic. This is going to be a very difficult unit to clear off the board, but with only doing 4 damage, plus sacrificing and dealing extra damage and drawing cards, there's not a lot here that Emperor Palpatine does that you wouldn't just run a better leader like Tarkin, or swapping over and running someone like Vader and running a command base. I personally do not like this leader and will likely never actually put it to board. There are going to be players out there that are super hyped about this leader, and by all means, go for it. Go ham. Go nuts. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Break this. Showcase to me that I am wrong, because I don't see it. And in combination with the previous card, the Emperor's Legion, you're only sacrificing 1 unit a turn, 2 units if you activate the leader ability, flip, and then attack with Palpatine. But that's 3 separate actions to be able to play this card. These cards they're just not it. They're just not it. This is absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, the most disappointing leader that I've seen in the game. I understand why IG-88 exists. I don't understand why Palpatine's effects are like this. But like I said, prove me wrong. Most people think that Thrawn is a terrible leader, and I disagree. I think he has some great benefits, and there's going to be some great players out there that utilize Thrawn to his fullest. I just don't see Emperor Palpatine being that type of leader that has effects that are very relevant to winning you the game. You have to sacrifice your own board state to be able to utilize his effects properly, and sacrificing your board state without a huge impact. It's 1 damage. Vader does more damage than that, because Vader deals a damage to a single unit without sacrificing anything, and he can pop the base for 1. There's not really much more I can say without going into a diatribe of how bad things are bad, right? I don't like Palpatine, but I will say, given the things that we've seen in the game and players who are generally pretty good at building things, someone out there is gonna make this work. And if they do, congrats to them. If not, I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. Our last card preview comes by the Unlimited FFG Twitter account. It's another double single aspect card, and it's a card that a lot of us initially expected would be a leader in addition to potentially also a unit, but we got just the unit, and here he is. This is Saw Gerrera Extremist, a 4-cost double aggression ground unit, 5 power, 4 health rebel. As an additional cost for each opponent to play an event, they must deal 2 damage to their base. He's a rare, number 153 out of 252 in SOR. Saw is a very interesting design. He fits very well into double aggression. I think that combining all of the double aggression cards together into a Rebels deck, either piloted by Cassian or Sabine, or flip side, double aggression, not necessarily Rebels, but at least aggression triggering strategy can work very well in Vader and even potentially Grand Inquisitor as well. There's benefits to either side. Saw is the type of character that comes down, isn't necessarily an immediate threat, but if your opponent wants to not deal damage to their own base to play events, they have to defeat him with something that's not an event, or be willing to take the 2 damage in order to take him out with something like a Vanquish or a Takedown, or waylay them, or use a Strike True to deal the damage to get rid of him. So he's a decent enough card in blocking that. His stats are pretty good. A 4-cost 5/4 is actually decent. Rebel keyworded, so he mixes with Rebel strategies, and again aggression, so he's going to work with Fighters for Freedom. He's going to work with Benthic 2 Tubes. He's going to work with Partisan Insurgents. I definitely see a double aggression Rebel based strategy getting some benefit early game. I don't know that this specifically enables Cassian to be one of those high level competitive decks, but I think a double aggression Cassian deck, maybe backed up by Tarkin Town or just a regular aggression base, 30 health aggression base, might be worth trying out at the very beginning of the game, or potentially once we move into the more mid-range and control strategies, as games tend to do once people learn how to deal with aggro. I like this card a lot. Not going to see it much in limited because it is a rare, but if you do see it and you have the ability to go double aggression in your limited draft or sealed deck, I think he's a pretty decent pickup because he becomes even more difficult to deal with without taking damage to the base, because people want to save their events for things that are more important. So Saw Gerrera, he is here to save the day and fight while also killing every single man, woman, and child in his path. On January 31st, FFG Live came to us talking about the pre-release and store showdown events that will be happening over the next 2.5 months. Obviously, pre-release is starting March 1st, and then the store showdown's happening 2 months after the release of the set. So in May, looks like those are going to be coming. Our 2 people from FFG on the stream today: Xander Tabler, host, senior community engagement specialist. If I got that wrong, I apologize, Xander. I know it's written down and I should have it memorized, because you deserve that level of respect, and I do apologize. But we also had a brand new person, never seen before on the mainstream, Corey Scott. He is the organized play coordinator / #1 aggression fan. That title was updated in real time. First thing Corey says on the stream: a judge program is coming, just wait.gif. That last part is me. So if you're interested in becoming a judge, stay tuned to StarWarsUnlimited.com. There will be information coming from FFG or the Unlimited FFG Twitter account, which will give you all the lovely information you could possibly imagine for Star Wars Unlimited when it comes to things like that. Pre-release kit was showcased. They opened up one of the pre-release kits that everybody will get as part of their pre-release for the event. And it comes with a fully assembled cardboard box that you can put your deck and spare cards into, so you don't have to keep the bigger version of the box. And it should fit sleeve cards, according to Corey and Xander. It does come with the quick start guide. It comes with the damage counters, the initiative counter, and an epic action token. And it also comes with foil Luke and Vader alternate art promos. These are the only times you can use these in limited, because they do come with the product itself. The leader side, not the unit side, is foiled, so that's a very interesting aspect of what they're going to be doing. They talk about the packs and what came in their packs. There wasn't anything new specifically to talk about, but for the pre-release event, anything that is in your packs plus the Luke and Vader are playable for pre-release events. The pre-release event kits that are given to the store or purchased by the store to run these events come with 2 Vader Judge promos and 2 Luke Judge promos. And the only difference between a Judge promo and a non-Judge promo is basically it's got a foil, potentially a special type of foiling on it, and it has a Judge stamp on it. These are probably going to be highly valued cards because people are going to want the highest level of rarity stuff for their decks. So if this is something that you want, be prepared to pay for those out the nose on the secondary market. Next, we have the Store Showdown. The Corey goes over the process of the Store Showdown that we know, but he gave us a little bit of information, a little bit of extra information. A Store Showdown is a best of 1 each game, and it is 20 minutes per round. So depending on how many people are at a Store Showdown, this event could go very quickly. I would say you probably anticipate about a half an hour per round total, because people will always go to time, because there's always people that play slow and always people that go to time. Control matchups in this game are very heavily time based. I know because I played a few of them, and I did play one live on stream with the Late Night Gaming crew, and I believe that was against solo. So I was playing my Iden deck trying to control as best as possible. But it was interesting based upon how long those control games can go. A couple of questions that were asked here. Will there be registration that records the records at launch? The answer is yes. As part of the tournament software, you'll have your actual StarWarsUnlimited.com account tied into those with a player ID that will include your records and stuff like that for those that need those types of things. Will there be sideboards at showdowns? It says yes, but Josh may correct us. That doesn't actually mesh with the way that they said best of 1, unless they're going to allow you to pre-board in Store Showdowns. I anticipate this might change going forward, either the sideboard itself or how the showdown is specifically played. So stay tuned. When I have that change in information, I will give it to you as well. The Store Showdown participation promo that's given to every person that participates in the Store Showdown is a takedown, which is cool. It's got that alternate art. The Judge promo is a foil version of that same takedown with the Judge stamp. The winner's award for Store Showdown is a champion stamped foiled Mace Windu. If anybody is familiar with Surge foiling, that's what it's basically going to look like. However, they did something very similar to what Bandai does every once in a while, and it's not just the champion that gets a foil Mace Windu. The finalists, so top 2, the top 4 players, and the top 8 players will all get a stamped foil Mace Windu, and they're going to be based upon how that person placed. So if you place top 8, you get a top 8 stamped foil alternate art Mace Windu card. If you're top 4, you get the top 4 and the top 8 card. If you're a finalist, top 4, top 8, so on and so forth. And then the champion will end up with 4 copies of this card: the champion, the finalist, the top 4, and the top 8 promos. And I think that's pretty cool. That also means that those promos, that for those higher level individuals that want to just keep their finalists or champions, the other promos can get out into the market. If somebody wants a cool fancy Mace Windu, they can get that, and that's going to be pretty cool. One of the things they told us was that events are being added to the store located on the website as we go. So because it is still in beta, there are still things that need to be improved upon and changed and grown. The one thing they did specifically tell us, that Xander told us, is that the S rarity is not specifically known as starter anymore. It is known as special, which will include starter cards, but that is a future proofing decision in case they have other cards that are released that are not part of a starter but are still part of a set but are not part of a main set, so they would be considered quote unquote special. They did announce on this live stream the official announcement of hosting the Star Wars Unlimited Community Celebration on February 10th, which I talked about in the beginning. Live streaming of the event will go from 12 p.m. to about 5 p.m. on the 10th. And if you want to see who's going to be there, check out the hashtag SWU Community over on Twitter, and you'll see all the lovely people that are out there. I retweeted a whole bunch of stuff on Wednesday about myself going and other people that I know that are going to be going. Anybody that I saw that day from the SW Community hashtag, I tried to retweet that. So check that out, or check out my Twitter account at RybackStun, and you'll be able to check out all those different things. One thing they did say is that the full set will be spoiled before the pre-release, at least through the card database, if not through extra spoilers given out in different locations. So when the players, the community creators, producers, whatever you want to call us, ish heads, go through and open up their packs, we might see more previews of different things. People who are at the event that are recording things might record things that they found themselves and post them up at a later date, potentially even that same night after the event is finished. But before March 1st, the whole set should be up on the official card database and other databases that are maintaining this as best they possibly can. So that was all. That was the important things from the FFG live stream. If you want to check it out, there's a link to it in the description below. I'm super excited for the community celebration. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to be able to open up packs and do some cool things. one of the things I'm hoping is that eventually this leads into opportunities for more than just the creators that went to this celebration event. It'd be neat if this was an annual thing, celebrating each year of Star Wars Unlimited, but even if it's not, providing opportunities for other community creators or producers, including myself, to maybe do box opening videos before each set comes out. I know that Wizards of the Coast does that for Magic and Konami does it for Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think it's a really cool opportunity to give creators the ability to showcase openings of products. Flesh and Blood does it different. They just spoil the entire set through community creator spoilers on YouTube and Twitter and all that other stuff. So however FFG decides to do it, Xander's on the case, and he's going to get the information out as best as possible. But count this as my campaign, my official campaign opening to provide content producer / creator booster box openings for all of the lovely creators that are out there that are participating in Star Wars Unlimited. And that is all she wrote for us today for Star Wars Unlimited. We had a fantastic time covering some awesome previews, some anticipated and exciting previews for other people, maybe not necessarily me, and going over the live stream of pre-release events. The next time you see me will be on, potentially, if I get called into the role. We don't know exactly how it's going to work, but hopefully as many of the people that are there are going to be showcased on the community live stream over there. Check out the beginning of the video, check out the links below, check out my Twitter, all the other lovely stuff about that. youtube.com/fantasyflightgames1 on February 10th at 12 p.m. CT to 5 p.m. CT. Should be really fun. We've got lots of cool things scheduled to go there. There's going to be a lot of cool content producers and content creators that are going to be there. And yeah, that's all we have for this week. By the time we've been talking about it over and over and over. Less than a month, folks. We're going to have a lot of fun with Star Wars Unlimited. I got a lot of things I hopefully have up on the schedule to come out once the full card database is released and we know everything. I'll do reviews for each aspect. I'll do reviews for each leader and potential cards you could put into the deck to make it successful, even if I don't necessarily like the leader themselves. But that is it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did showcasing it to you. Remember to like the video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on all the social medias, throw a comment down below on what you're excited for, who you're excited to see at the community extravaganza, community celebration, whatever we want to call it. And let me know what you think of Emperor Palpatine and what you think of my opinion of Emperor Palpatine, because I'm sure I'm about to get fried. So thank you very much for joining me, folks. I appreciate each and every single one of you. And with that, I will see you in the stars.